This is Silence After the Crash, my newest artwork that I just recently finished. I want to give a breakdown of it because I'm really happy with how it turned out. So this video will sort of be a behind the scenes of the 3D viewport and how I created the final image. I started off by modeling the space capsule since it would be the main focal point of the scene, your eye would be drawn to it, and I wanted it to be as good as it possibly could be. Since the capsule was a cylinder shape, the topology was a constant challenge, and extruding windows and holes always made artifacts appear and all that crap, but after some minor tweaks with vertices and edges, I got it all under control. The texturing process wasn't too bad, even if it does look a bit complicated. The first set of nodes are two different metals that I mixed together using a noise texture. Then the next two groups are for dirt and grime in the crevices. And then the last group is for the metal on the bottom of the capsule. All of the scuffs, leaks, and dirt smudges on the outside are decals from textures.com that I shrink wrapped onto the capsule. It still needed an interior, and I didn't want to model one because I'm lazy, and if it's barely going to be visible, then why spend the time doing it? So I found an accurate 3D recreation of the Apollo 13, and I ripped its interior out and put it in mine like a true Ravager, 3D artist. These little handles were pretty easy. I just used a cube, extruded little pieces to get the shape, and then I applied a bevel modifier over it all. All the way up until this point, I thought the capsule was looking really good, but I felt like it was missing something when I realized that it didn't even have a door. So I modeled the door by cutting out a piece of the capsule to get the proper bend and shape. After adding some bolts to various places on the capsule, I was finished and ready to move on to the environment. The environment is kind of just a mix of photo scans from Sketchfab that I shaped and manipulated to all fit together, and I went through several renditions before finally settling on this one. I was going for a dark, rocky environment, and none of the photo scans were the correct colors that I wanted, so I went through and changed the brightnesses and hues of each texture to achieve my desired look. After getting all of the rocks positioned, I had way too much geometry, so I optimized the scene by cutting out any geometry that wouldn't be visible, and progressively decimated the geometry the further away from the camera that it was. As you can see, if you look at the scene through a different perspective, it doesn't work because it's optimized specifically for the camera angle. I also placed several rocks around the capsule to make it look like broken rocky debris that was lifted up from the ground during the crash. And I put a puddle because who doesn't like a nice puddle? The scene still needed a character that survived the crash, and I found this really nice astronaut model by Cobble Games on Sketchfab, and I posed him sitting in the doorway as if he was trying to recover from the crash that just happened. The lighting isn't very complicated, but it took me a while to get looking good and how I imagined. I used the built-in sky texture thing in Blender to get the base lighting, kind of going for a dark, early morning sunrise. For the actual sun lighting, I used an orange sun lamp coming from the left. These black planes are for blocking light between the gaps where rocks should be. I had an orange point lamp inside the capsule to illuminate the back of the astronaut and attract your eye to that area. And in my opinion, every scene needs volumetric lighting, so of course I added it. After my perfectionist mind stared at the result for an entire day, I did my final little adjustments and clicked render. Nearly an hour and a half later, it was done rendering, and I brought it into Lightroom to edit and do color grading, and then I used Procreate to paint the final touches such as little floating dust particles, smoke coming from the capsule, and the clouds in the sky. After all of that was finished, I had completed what I consider to be my best artwork I've done to date. This artwork, along with many others of mine, can be found on my Instagram, Twitter, and ArtStation, all of which are linked in the description. If you're interested, then I would be forever grateful if you went and showed some love. Thank you for watching, and keep creating.